So to get started with shell scripting, right? So working with Unix and Linux, right? So you might have came across certain shells, Angie, like, can be Bash, C shell, or, Corn shell, a kind of it. Like we'll go through that in detail. And, this is an alternative when you work with Unix. So the major thing that you will see your difference from Windows to Unix is like, you will not have GUI, graphical user interface. Okay. Which is like, very easy to use. However, like, you will have advantage of command line. The difference between like, Unix and Windows is the major difference is GUI, graphical user interface.
Yes.
So, yes. However, you have advantage in Unix, then like, in Windows, the speed of doing any kind of activity is much faster when you comparatively with Windows. The reason being like, you don't have to play with GUI stuff. Okay. So,
yes.
So what is a shell? Like, when we start with the shell scripting, right? Shell is kind of, it provides a direct interaction with the operating system. Okay. So think about this, to keep it in a very practical way, right? Let's say you are copying a direct file from one folder to another folder in Windows. In the same way that we execute those commands in the command line interface, where that shell shell interacts with core, right? And core talks to hardware. Hardware does that job for us. So here we do Control C and then Control V there, or probably right click, and from the pop-up menu we pick up copy and then paste it somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Just give me a minute. So when we do this copy paste in Unix, the shell interacts with the core, as I said, and it executes certain commands, instructions to the hardware. So which performs our required operation here. So in this example, it's just copying a file and then pasting it somewhere. Okay. So that makes a big difference, and it improves a lot of performance, Anji. So to talk about it, right? So let's start, how the Linux is evolved. Or probably if you have a little background about it, do you want to continue, Anji?
No.
Okay. So let me start it. So,
yeah.
So a few stages, how the Linux is evolved. Okay. I'll not get deeper into it. So it's a kind, Linux is available for free. If you talk about the most advanced flavor like your Ubuntu, right? It's available in the portals for free, and you can download it and probably get installed on your machines. Okay, or you can make even a desktop, a Linux desktop, or probably you can make it like Linux server just to ensure that we are meeting that hardware requirements. Okay, I'll not get deep into it. So Unix is an operating system that developed by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie. Okay, I think it was somewhere in the year of 1969. Okay, though they have released that in 1970. So what they have done is like, this Unix system, operating system, is completely written in C language. Okay, and later in 1990s, somebody called Linus who developed the Linux kernel. So that's where it renamed to Linux. Okay, that's a difference. So it's kind of enhancements or few enrichments done for Dennis Ritchie's Unix system, and it became Linux. So talking about different flavors, right? So whatever Ritchie has developed, it's a base flavor, base operating system. And on top of it, there are few companies or few organizations, they made enhancements out of it. So like IBM, they have done certain enhancements, and they improved certain performance features, and they made it as AIX. Okay. So whereas Solaris made it, Sun Microsystems made a Solaris. Okay. Fedora, they made a different Linux. And Red Hat, they made it as a Red Hat Linux. And now Ubuntu is in the market, and Ubuntu is like they made their own software, Ubuntu, and most of the organizations doesn't prefer this, considering it's a free source, and we have a security vulnerable issues. Whereas if we go with a licensed, like they will be ensuring that it is compiled with all the vulnerability glitches, right? So maybe a virus or kind of a certain security implementations will get you through not giving the advantage for hackers to get into the system, correct? So this so that's why your organizations go with a more licensed one than the free versions. Okay. So getting into it, so what we are going to learn today. Okay, so let us concentrate on what is a shell. Okay, probably I'll start the screen. So let me know when you see it.
Yes, it is useful.
Yeah. So what we're going to learn today is I'll teach you comparing different shells. And second thing is working in shell.
Okay.
And third one, like I said, we'll go over a few basic commands, basic Unix commands.
Yes.
So this, you might already know it, but I'll just repeat for the sake of that.
No problem.
Let's see, we will try our first Unix script.
Yeah.
Our first, I'll call it as first shell script. Okay.
Okay.
And next one we can talk a little bit about how the shell script executes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Executes a bit about interpreter,
language,
compiler.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about it if we get into this fifth topic, and probably we'll also see where to use and where not to use. Okay. Use and where not to use shell scripts.
Yeah.
We will talk about various, or probably I'll keep it as file system in Unix, which you might know about this, right? Being used. Right?
Yeah.
And permissions we'll talk about.
Okay.
So I'll be covering these things today.
Okay. Yeah.
And we will get into loops and everything probably, as we get on. Like to start with, we'll just start with today. And let's keep the session very interactive, Angie, so that, I'll get to know where you stand, and probably I can help you better getting into more advanced stuff. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So comparing different shells. So I'll just list out what are the shells that we have. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So initially when shell was developed, right? So the first thing that came into the first shell program is called Bourne shell. Okay. So what happened is, depends on different flavors. Like I said, there are different flavors of Unix, right? So depends on that, they started developing a different shells. Okay. So we'll just talk about it. So one is that, so this is a short indication of shell. Okay. And we are going to use this, and where it has to be used, I'll get to there in a moment. Okay. So this is a basic shell.
Okay.
This is Bourne shell.
Yeah.
Like I said, when it was developed, so Bourne shell was the first one we had, and C shell.
Okay.
Is indicated with SH. So okay. So people often call K shell as the most advanced one, but for some reason, I call it as a bash is the more advanced one. Okay. So,
Yes, yes, yes.
there is a long debate about it, like which one is the best one. Okay. So few
Okay.
people are comfortable with K shell and bash, born again shell. Okay.
Okay.
So there are like advantages and disadvantages about it. We will get there as we get towards the end of this shell script session. Okay.
Okay.
Next one I have is TCSH. What it has is enhanced T shell. Okay. I don't remember. Sorry. This is okay. Sorry. Enhanced. Did I write T? Okay. Enhanced C shell. So it's enhancements to the C shell that has been written. But I see anywhere that we are using this T shell. Okay.
Okay.
This is a bash that I was talking about, born again shell.
Okay.
The Red Hat commands, Red Hat Linux commands, Ubuntu commands, and even AX does work well in this born again shell. At least that I have seen. And Corn shell also does all these things. Just that, little differences, very minute differences, I would say. Okay. So, and there's another shell called.
Okay.
Question?
No question. No question.
Okay.
But in the most of time in the real time we are using only bash shell, right? We were like.
Yeah, born again shell, bash shell.
Yes, born again bash shell we are using only.
Correct. So, and this is JetSH. So what it is it's a combined extension to bash, TCS.
Okay. Anna, just a minute, Anna. If you don't mind, no?
Let me start presenting my screen again.
Yes, just a minute. Still not now.
Yeah, I started presenting my screen.
Yes. Yes, Anna. Yes, it is usable.
Okay. So, and then we have something called PDKSH. Okay. So it's more advanced or to K-shell. But we or anybody in the market, right? So typically they use for K-shell.
Okay.
So they use K-shell, bash, and at times I saw people are using C-shell as well. Okay.
C-shell only. Okay. Still we are using C-shell, K-shell, and bash shell only. Am I right?
So more like the bash is what I came across many scenarios where bash does work. Okay. No harm if we are using K-shell and C-shell. There are people who does execute C-shell for certain, but people stop now using it because we have a more advanced version of Linux that we are running on now. So they can implement that using other platforms like Python, JavaScript, or even more robust things. Okay. So the only direct differences that I see with the bash and corn shell, right? So there are kind of directory stacks. Okay. So what are these directory stacks is they use the pushd and popd commands. Okay. Those doesn't work in K-shell. However, they work in bash. Okay. And there is something called key binding more related to the admin. Or I would say that the characteristic of a keyboard. Okay. Like if you notice it in certain Unix environments, right? When you type using a number keypad, keyboard, right? So it's typing a special characters. When you do that bash, right? So when you press 1, it does not take special character there. It does take 1 bash. So that's a key, we call it as, and that's the difference. One more thing is like, let's say, let me bring up my screen here. So you see a command line terminal. So
Yes, sir.
So if I go here,
Can you increase the font size because I'm not visible properly?
I doubt. Because this is our properties. Let me see.
Just we have, yeah. Okay.
Font.
Go to the font.
Have an option to increase the font.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see it better?
Right. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right now I'm in directory called home. Okay. I wanted to go to a directory called Sripal. So what I do is right.
Yeah.
So in such cases where I do not want to type the full name. So what I do is I type yes and I type tab. I hit the tab.
Okay.
So in this shell, like we should be able to do the spell correction or prompt formatting, we call it as. Okay.
Okay.
Be able to get to this with the tab. Whereas if I type in like KShell, right? Let's say like if I have that installed in this machine. See, like I don't have
very
quickly install it. It will not be taking long.
Yes.
Unable to look at the package.
Unable to look at the package.
Okay, so let's not worry about it. We had to download it, and whereas in KShell that prompt that it will not show, the tab will be still a tab. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the kind of differences that we notice. These are like limited, but these are one of the differences that we usually notice.
Okay.
So we talked about comparing the different shells. Like these are the different shells that we have. Okay.
Okay.
Now working with shells, what are the tasks that can be done with the shell? Right.
Okay.
Right. So what does it do? Like when we type a word here, what it does is, let's say here I'm typing a PWD. Okay. This PWD is it's a command. It's an instruction to the system, right?
Yes.
So bash, still responsibility to execute this command or instruction and get the output. Okay. So what it does? So the shell reads this word first. Correct?
Okay.
Reads this word or command or an instruction, whatever you call it as, right? So it will evaluate. Hold on a second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Any headset, office headset, please.
Sorry, Anji, what was that?
No. I'm asking my headset only, like my friend only. So I'm not audible properly this headset. That's why I'm changing my headset. Just a minute.
Do you hear me low voice or something?
Yeah.
So we were talking about, sorry for a break, and we are talking about a task to be done by the shell programming, right? A shell, right? So when I hit this PWD word, PWD and followed by enter. So shell takes the responsibility to read this word and take this word till hardware to execute and get the output. Okay. So it will channelize through like shell and then kernel and then to the hardware. So kernel is something in between, like, it converts the human readable language to the machine understandable language. Okay. So let's take a little diversion. So what do you understand by machine understandable language, Anji?
Okay. That means zeros and ones only, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So it's a binary data. So what does kernel do is, kernel is again a program, right? Yeah. So which understands the instructions. Let's say if I'm giving a PWD, that will be converted, that is converted into machine understandable language, and then it gives the instructions, get the output, and converts that output into human readable format again.
Human readable language.
Right.
So it's
Yes, sir.
interpreters. It interprets.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be using this
Yes.
more often now. Okay, so
Okay.
shell has a responsibility to take this instruction to kernel and then get the output back from kernel. Okay, and
Yes.
also what it does, it evaluates certain meta characters. Let's say,
Okay.
and now I'm giving cd dot sorry cd dot dot, right? So cd is a command, and this is
Yes,
a
sir.
you know I would call it as an argument, right? So
Okay.
parameters that we are
Okay.
passing. So for
Okay.
this command, we are giving these parameters. So these characters will be evaluated by shell, and it will give us the execute this command for us, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
like when we talk about a file system, I'll tell you like what is dot indicates, what is dot dot indicates. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure you might know about it, but I'll talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in this
Yes.
case, let's think about this. I'm giving ls command here. Okay.
Yes.
So it gives me certain characters. What if I give ls s star? So it gives okay, it gives everything what is inside this one. Okay.
Okay.
So in such cases, right? So it has to understand what is the character that I have entered here, and what is the character that we entered here. So we call all this dot dot or star everything, right? So we call it as like meta characters. Okay.
Okay.
So those meta
Okay.
characters it will understand, and it will consider that as an input for the instruction and get us the output.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the few things that shell does, and in addition to that, right? So like I'll call it this way: ls-l. Okay, this is a command, and again this is an argument that I'm giving. I'll give a star followed by like word count -l. Okay.
Yes.
So what am I doing here? So I'm executing an instruction, giving giving an option, right?
Okay.
And input, optional input, and what does this pipe indicates? I'm redirecting the output of this complete command ls-l s star
Yeah.
to
Okay.
word count to another command word count -l. Sorry, there's extra types here. Word count -l. So what it does is this output of this command will be moved to input will be moved as an input to this command. Okay.
Okay.
So what it does is like shell is taking care of passing this output of the first command to
Okay.
to the input of second command that is indicated by pipe. So when the shell notices a pipe, right? So that output will not be displayed. Instead, that output will be given as an input to the next command after the pipe symbol. Okay. So if I execute this, I'll get the output.
Yeah.
Right. So this IO redirection, we call it as input-output redirection operators, or pipe operator, we call it as, right?
Okay.
So those pipe operators will be handled by shell. So how does, where did this happen? The redirection of output into as an input to this command. It happened in the background.
Okay.
Who has taken care of it? It's a shell.
Shell.
Right?
Yeah.
Shell. So shell does handle all those things. This is one of it again. Okay. And it takes care of, let's say if I'm executing this, like this is one of the background process that happened where the output has been redirected to the input of next command, right? Such a background processing will be handled by shell again, right? Okay. So in precise, if you want me to tell you in fancy words, the background processing will be taken care by shell, right? So and the signal
to check the background. Is it possible to check the background process right now when we are executing?
Yeah. See, this is something like happened very quick, right? So think about this. Okay. There is a script that is being executed, and it is taking about like more than like sometime, let's say 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Okay. So to keep it in a very realistic way, right? Think about there is a shell script which includes the SQL query, which takes about 30 minutes to execute, and we wanted to check the, I mean, you executed a shell script and it is running in the background. Okay. So which is taken care by shell shell again.
Shell only, yeah. Yes,
So
shell
in such cases, we should be able to check that. And this is pretty quick process, and it has done in like matter of microseconds.
Yes.
So that will not appear here.
Okay.
Right. Let's say if at all, like you are doing a zipping of files. Okay. Some 20 GB data, you are zipping it in Unix command line. Okay. And there is a way to execute that in the foreground and in the background. Okay. Yeah. So if you are executing in the background, and if you wanted to see like what is happening, so you should be able to check that. Correct. Yeah. So using there is a command for listing out the process, PS. Yes. Right. Yes. So using PS, we should be able to check that. Okay. So I will get through that. We'll get through that very sharp. Yeah. Okay. And signal handling. Sure. Like I'll consider the same example that we have been talking about. I'm zipping a file. Okay. So it might be taking longer, and it is impacting. And for some reason, like you wanted to stop the process. In Unix, like you don't have a way to close the process using a red button, right? Like we have in Windows. Okay. So what we use is like we use this Control-C option. So if it is running in the foreground, we can use Control-C or Control-Z we call it, right? So Control-Z or Control-C we can use to stop such process. Okay, that is something we are calling it as signal handling. Okay. In more technical terms, what is a signal handling? It reads the signal input that we are giving to the shell and taking to the interpreter and getting the things done. In this case, Control-C is a signal that we are processing, right? So that signal handling will be done by shell. Okay. So, and also what it does, like I'll go to the example that we just spoke about. We're executing a shell script, right? So that shell script again has to be executed by shell. So the execution will be done by shell script. Shell. Right. So any questions so far?
No questions. I'm clear about that.
Okay. So hope you're getting it. Let me know like if you feel I'm rushing or I'm too slow. I should be able to manage my speed.
No. This is enough for me. I can understand like this level only. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And talking about it, right? So let's talk about how do we check which shell we are in. Okay. So again, like we'll be executing a like there will be certain environment parameters for everything that we are executing here. So in that environment parameters, we should be able to check that. So that will be configured by admins, like you might know when the server was set up or your account was set up. So it will be, so there'll be certain files that gets created, and using that, like, we can adjust like which shell we wanted to enter into. Okay. In this case. So how do we check the shell is?
Echo dollar symbol shell only. Yeah.
Echo dollar shell. So in this case, we are using bash. Okay. Yes. Let's see if we have okay, sorry for caps. Okay, so if we wanted to switch the shell, like we can use this KSH or CSH to switch there. So, but I don't have it installed on this Ubuntu kind, so I'd not be able to show you that. Okay, so this is a kind of this is how we check it, and let's think about this. Like, how do we check the version of the bash, right? Okay. So like I said, like I showed, echo dollar shell, it gave me /bin/bash. So if it is a C shell, it will give me like /bin/csh, or K shell, it will give me like /bin/ksh or csh, C shell, right? So
by using the single command, we can find out, like cat/etc cells only. So we can get out all cells only, I think.
What did you say? Cat
/etc cells.
Shells. Okay. So okay. Yeah. So this is possible in Linux. Yes. Okay. A valid login shells. It talks about. Okay. This is again a file. So so what happens is like this Ubuntu writes everything into this one, and one second. It's a plain text file again, like where we will have all the shells written here. Okay. Yeah. So you could see that, you know, we can use sh, bash, r bash, dash, tmux, and user bin screen. So if you ask me like what are these shells, I don't know. Probably little enhancer version to bash, and same thing with a dash.
Yes.
Okay. And you know, if you wanted to know the version of this, right? So what we do is bash-version will give us like, you know, what is the version of bash that we are using it, and we could see that, you know, who is the provider for this and everything. Okay. So I see 4.4.20 is a version that is installed on my machine, but I never upgraded it. Okay.
So that means every shell having the versions only. If I want to find out the SS version, SS space -- version, I can type.
Yes, that will give you the version of SH.
Version of this.
Yeah, it's a illegal command.
Okay.
SH-version. I don't know, like this is different, it seems, for SH version. Okay. So we can use it. So moving forward, like what we can call it as, like, you know, so if we are referring to the shell, it's a bash, because we are working in bash shell alone, right? Yeah. And so where do we stand so far? So we know how to you know, we worked so far till, like, you know, working in shells, correct?
Yes.
So we'll see, like, you know, what are the basic commands, right? So like few commands already we started like running through them, and let's see like what are those commands that we work. We'll just revisit it. The first command I would start is ls, which is for listing the file system. Okay. Ls will have multiple options. Okay. So what are those options and how do we find it? Okay. I use man pages. Okay. Man is again a command which stands for manual, followed by ls is an input. So any command you can give here. So that will consider as an input, and it will list all the manual file related to this command in human readable format. I give man followed by ls, and here it shows ls is for listing a directory contents. Ls, so syntax is like, you know, ls options followed by the file name. Okay. So these are the options that I was talking about. So where do you see all these options? You could see it here. -a stands for all, including something like hidden file, right? So let me tell you this, like, is there a way that I can duplicate this? Okay. So I'll come to this command a little later. Like, let me show you this. What is ls-a? Probably, let me see, like, if I can open another session. Okay. So do you still see my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yes, sir. So, but it is only like the previous screen only. I'm not getting any new screen.
Okay. One second. Like I'm enabling another shell, another screen also to share. Okay. So now you see it, right? So I have. Yes. So we were talking about this manual page, right?
Yes.
So what if I do ls-? So let me get here to cd Sripan, or let me do pwd, right? Yes. So let's talk about pwd first. Okay. Pwd stands for present working directory. It's again a command or an instruction gives to the shell. It gives us, like, you know, which location we are in. Okay. And let's say we are talking about ls, right? So -a gives us like all the hidden files. Okay. So what is a hidden file? Like, file hiding from. So if I give ls, I'll be able to see only this. When I give ls-a, I'm able to see the files which includes dot before that, right?
Yeah.
So any hidden file in Unix will be indicated with will be started the file name with dot. If I wanted to create a dot, a hidden file, you just have to create a file with starting with the dot. So let's say if I'm touching a file here, right? Touch dot ng, right? What happens is if I give normal ls-l, I'd not be able to see that file. Okay. If I give ls-la, sorry, la, I should be able to see even the file that we just created.
Yes.
There you go. Right. So this is how that works. ls-a works. I'll not get into deep into all these things, but I'll just touch base on what are the useful options that we have. Okay.
Yeah.
So -a lists everything except dot and dot dot. Okay. So when we look at it, when I did ls-la, right? So it included a dot and dot dot, right? So this time when you execute ls-la, uppercase A, right? So it does not include dot and dot dot. Okay. Yeah. So, and this is outdated one. The reason being, like, with -l option, you're getting everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And -b used for ignoring a backups. Okay. Something ending with, let's say if there is a backup file that is automatically taken, it will be ending with a tilde symbol at the end. Okay. That will not be listed. So I'll talk, so -d, if you use -d here, right, in the same way, it will list only the directories. Okay. So
that means we have another directories also, right?
Another directories also.
Like Unix and
I have Unix, PQR,
and
a few other directories I have written. Yeah. So for some reason, it's not writing. So how I use is like I use grep command to do this. Okay. I mean, again, like this command. So there are few differences from one flavor to other flavor, right? So this command might not be working in Ubuntu, but probably we can try that in either Red Hat or AX in some system. Yeah.
But in the most of time, I'm also using like ls-l, and grep.
Yeah. I'll come to that. Correct. So this is a desktop and basic version. I don't know if it has everything. Okay. And I'll talk about few other commands like so -l. This is for long listing. So what happens is if I give ls, like it will list like this, and if I give ls-l, it will list the items with lengthy information, like it will list what are the permissions, what is the kind of file. The first character indicates what is the kind of file that we are holding, and these are the permissions. We'll get there for the permissions towards end of the session. And I think this is a block size or something, or probably user related information, and this is user and group related information. This is a block size, and this is when the last modified or created one, and this is actually the file name. So this will be listed based on this. And to list based on time and everything, so we use ls-lt. Okay. In this case, what happened is, like, it is not in a sorted way. Okay. We see March 15th. You could see that March 2nd file. We see that 2 o'clock created file in the lower, and then we got 15 hours file appearing little above that. And March 3rd one, we see that appearing different way. So to do this reversing, right? So I use R. So with this, like, we'll get the latest file created at the bottom.
Yes.
Right. So these are the pretty much options we use. And we also use option called LGR or uppercase R. What it does is it moves inside the directories and get the file system listed recursively. Under book, we have like F10, there is a directory, a file, book, PQR. These are the directories that somebody has created. Okay. Yes. So these things does appear here. And other than that, let me see if I have anything really interesting. So -S size, I'm not sure, if this works in Ubuntu, but we do use it -S at times. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we can use -S to sort by file size. Largest first will come, largest one will come on the top, and then the lowest one will come in the bottom, right?
Yes,
so these things that probably, I would suggest you to go through these options one by one in the man page that you can open in your system. Okay. So far, like I'll just list out what are the commands that we have covered so that we'll not lose the track. So we used ls command, and we did pwd command, right? So now let's see, like, how do we create the folders or directories, we call it as in Unix. Okay. I'm getting, so here I'm creating another directory called Angie, right? So we use mkdir, which stands for make directory. Okay, that's how I remember. Okay. So when you execute this command,
are you asking?
So seems like you are in a different call as well, Anji.
I took home my current salary is 5.5 lakhs per annum.
So it seems like you are in a different call as well.
No. Some my friend is asking something, that's why I said.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
If you don't mind, just a minute.
Sure.
So because
I mean, take your time, no hurry. Like, even if you want me to pause for some time, I can do that too.
No. It's only company call. That's why. Okay. Just a minute. I will come back.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So we talked about PWD, and we saw how mkdir does work, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
I'm creating a folder called Angie. I'm using command dir, right?
Permissions.
Free permission denied. Okay. So sorry, I'm inside the home folder where I don't have a permissions to create it. So I'm switching my called Sripal, my home directory, and executing the same command, and it has created a directory here. You could see that directory here. So this is in the directory. We will talk little detail about it, like what does the first one indicates. Okay. So, and what do we need to do to get into this directory? I use cd command, right?
Yeah.
cd followed by the directory name will get me through, get me inside the directory. Okay. Right. And if we execute the pwd again, we should be able to see we are inside the directory for which we just did a change directory here. cd stands for changing a directory.
Okay.
Right. And if you could recall, we used a command called touch a few minutes back, right? So I'm using the command to create an empty file. Test one, right? So if I do a listing here, you should be able to see the test file here, test one file here. So what does touch do? Touch creates either an empty file if the file doesn't exist. Let's say here you're seeing 11:51 is the time, right? Time of the file, date stamp, right? If I wanted to change this date stamp to the current time, I use the touch command again. Right? So 11:52 it should show. So earlier it was showing 11:51 and now it is showing 11:50. So what does the touch
do is either it creates a new file if the file doesn't exist. If the file does exist, it will change the timestamp to the current timestamp.
Okay.
Modified or created time will get changed to the latest timestamp.
Okay.
Right. So we use batch. Yes. Question there?
Yeah. So for example, if we have an existing file like test1, so when we will get the test space test1, the data will not be available, right? In that file?
No, data will be available. Data will be intact. So to do that, right? So let me write something to it. So I'll use echo. While talking about it, right? I use echo command to print the content.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So use echo followed by a text, right? So it should get displayed.
Okay.
Right. So if I have a special characters like space and everything, so I use a double quotes. Okay. And so here I'm trying to use a Unix command itself. It is not letting. So what I do is like I use a single character here. I mean single quote. If it's the case, or probably I'll keep it this way.
Yeah.
So this is again another difference, Anji.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
There are certain shells that it considered to use this single character, single quote.
Yeah. Yes,
there are few shells doesn't use this to recognize any commands that we are giving. Okay. Ubuntu has a different, so I'm trying to find which is the best way that we can use it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was using date.
Date.
So even if I use $date, what did I do? Okay. Even within single quotes, if I use this, it will print as is. In case of double quotes, like, if I give this, it will be printing the output of this command that I'm using. Okay.
Yeah.
So date is also another command which gives the date of current dates, system date stamp.
Yes.
Okay. And when I use it in single quotes, right, it did not consider that as a command. Okay. When I use the same thing in double quotes, right, it considered it as a command and executed the command and gave the output to me. So if you could see the output here, this says that this is a test file and followed by the date. Whereas in single quotes, it just considered it as a plain text and printed as is. Okay, like any other text besides the this apostrophe symbol. So in double quotes, what I did is command shell command that I wanted to print along with the echo preform text, right? I used this apostrophe symbol on both sides. Okay. It gave me the complete output like this. Okay. So this is something that we can list down. So we used echo and commands to invoke. How to invoke commands? What an echo statement, right? And think about this. I wanted to write this content to a file that we created, test1, right? So what I do is often, like if you wanted to repeat what you just executed, you can use up arrows to go to the previous command. That happens in bash. So whereas in shell, right, you would not be able to get there. Okay. I'm using up arrows here. You could see that the commands that I used in last few lines gets repeated. So that's one advantage of bash.
So that advantage will not be there with K shell.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm using this echo followed by right arrow here. I mean, shift plus greater than, I mean, the greater than symbol, right? So to test. So what it will do is it will completely write the content to test1 file.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So if in place of it, if I use, let me change. This is a test file created for Unix class, right? So in such case, if I give this one arrow, right, it will replace the content of test1 file.
Yes.
Okay. So to append to the existing text, I use two greater than symbols.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I hit this, you'd be able to, I mean, these two lines, first, when I executed this command, the highlighted command, it has written the first file into this test1.
Yes.
Okay. When I executed the second line with two, which has like two greater than symbols into the file, it has appended the text to the existing file. So we will list the file. So you could see that 117 bytes, the file size is, whereas, you know, like few lines up, you'd see the 0 KB content, right? So now that, you know, using an echo, we have written the file to, what do you call? We have written the content to the file, right?
Yeah.
We indicate the output. So I use this followed by the test, right? So what it does is, cat is for reading the content, okay? And less than symbol is for passing the output of this file into this one. So this is advanced. This is a bold way of doing the things. But even if you give test1, it will give the same thing. You know, the advancement and this command has been changed over the time. But to show you, like, you know, how the output will be redirected, I use this command. Okay.
Yeah.
Follow me, right?
But so that is optional.
Yeah, that is optional. There are few times, there can be a few places where you have to use this command to redirect the output. But when we get deep inside into the shell script, I'll let you.
Okay.
But for now, remember this has a like output redirection operator, and whereas this has an input redirection operator, and this is for input redirection but appends to the existing content.
Yes.
Okay. So and you know, you use cat command to read the content of the file. Okay. But remember, with the cat command, it will list the complete file content. Think about this. Production, if you are working, like, you know, you might have a file that has created for 10,000 lines.
Okay.
So in such scenarios, you would not be able to list all these things, right? So you use different command called more
either less
by file name, which displays the, you know, to the screen size.
Yes.
Okay, the page will be fitted onto your screen size. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can use head and tail commands as well. We'll get more towards it as we advance towards this class. Okay. So now we heard what are greater than, double greater than, and less than symbols, right? And we learned how do we execute a cat command. Okay. And now let's see how do we copy the file. To copy the content of this test1 file into test2.